Good afternoon. This is the Pass Ball Show brought to you by Pielli.com. About 10 minutes to 11 on Saturday, the 9th day of December 2017. Lots of stuff to get into. We're going to keep the program pretty abbreviated today. Obviously, you got the stuff going on with Giancarlo Stanton. Looks like at this point he's going to be joining the New York Yankees. Obviously, he has to agree to waive his no-trade clause that he agreed to in his contract with the Miami Marlins. And it looks like that's pretty much all but done. He mentioned the Yankees as one of the 4 teams that he would approve a trade to. Obviously, you had the Cardinals and Giants agreeing to deals with the Miami Marlins, but Stanton decided he doesn't want to play there. There's so many different angles to this because I was thinking of a couple different ways I wanted to go about it. You obviously look at the Yankees, and my issue with them is not the fact that they always seem to get the best players. I think there are a lot of fans that are upset about that, fans of other organizations, whether you root for the Red Sox or the Orioles, Blue Jays, or Rays, or cross town in Queens with the New York Mets. That isn't my problem. And I've said this for a couple of years, and I go back to the Starlin Castro trade with the Chicago Cubs, and this is the one deal that bothers me the most and sets the biggest example that the New York Yankees and their organization and their front office get to play at a different set of rules from the rest of Major League Baseball teams. And I do not like that. I don't mind that they have the deepest pockets. If you look at what's going on in the country, and of course we spend a lot of time talking about unifying America, there are people that are more fortunate in this country. The rich have the ability to get richer. And whether you disagree with that point or you only agree with it as it pertains to baseball because you're a Yankees fan, it is still an issue. It's something that probably isn't going to change. Wealthy people, wealthy organizations, wealthy businesses are, successful because of the things that they've done, and their wealth and their success is going to allow them to grow and become even more successful and more rich. So the issue with the Yankees getting Stanton is not a big deal. And I said this last year when the Yankees made the trade to get Sonny Gray. I had a huge problem with the Starlin Castro trade. And I'm going to continue to voice this because this is something that I don't think was right. It wasn't right for Major League Baseball. If I was the commissioner, I wouldn't allow a trade like that to go through. What the Yankees essentially agreed to do with a player that's only under 25, he's been an all-star, he's got over 200 hits in a season before. They essentially got him because they were willing to pay his contract. Which, if you go back to what happened in the 70s in Charlie Finley, essentially selling players away, Commissioner Bowie Kuhn jumped in and said that this was not acceptable. He was not allowing Raleigh Fingers and Joe Rudy to go to the Boston Red Sox. He was not allowing Vida Blue to go to the Yankees just for money, just for the simple fact that the team was willing to pick up the contract. Yet, in 2015, or after the 2015 season, Commissioner Manfred and Major League Baseball allows the Yankees and Cubs to constitute a deal which essentially was Starlin Castro for the value of his contract. There were 28 other teams in baseball, and I would bet at least half of them would have had some interest in Starlin Castro. Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, for whatever reason, decided that they didn't want anything back for him, which was not fair to the rest of Major League Baseball. So it almost seems like it was a deal that was specific to the Yankees, and the Yankees were giving, I'm not going to say inside information, but they were given the ability to make a deal that was completely in their favor, and there's no way they were going to turn it down, and it was kind of spitting at the rest of Major League Baseball. The Sonny Gray trade, I thought, was not as much. But you could say Yankees have 3, 4, 5 prospects that were all more highly regarded than the players that they gave up. And the only reason that they were willing to give up the 2 players that they gave up, or 2 of the players that they, of course they gave up Mateo, who was a pretty good infield prospect. And that's why I look back at that deal and I don't think it was that bad. It was not that favored towards the Yankees. But Kripalian and, Fowler are 2 guys that are hurt. Yankees would probably regard them a little bit more if they weren't injured and were able to play next year. So Starlin Castro, who ends up coming back in this case, to the forefront because he seems to be one of the players that's heading over to the Marlins in this trade. The Yankees essentially picked Starlin Castro up for nothing when, by the way, they didn't need him, but only made the deal because the Cubs were so desperate to trade him that they weren't willing to ask for a return. And this player is going to be the centerpiece of what's going to bring the Yankees Giancarlo Stanton. Like I said, if you're a Yankees fan, be excited. Enjoy it. You know, it's getting to a point where it's almost been 10 years since the Yankees have won the World Series. I think there is a little bit of a sense of urgency. You have a new manager in there, and Aaron Boone, who's going to run things a little bit differently. You have Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez and Greg Bird. You know, this is a team that should win. It should win right now in 2018. And I will tell you this. If the Yankees don't win in 2018, I don't want to hear any excuses. I mean, Yankees, since the days of Babe Ruth, have had the advantage and have had the inside track to be able to get all of the best players and just about any player that they wanted. And good for them. That's the markings of a good business. That's what it is. It's the sign that you're involved in a good business and you are successful through this business. Having the money to sign players to contracts such as Joe DiMaggio and down the road, Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle. And then to add to the mystique of what it is to be a Yankee. So all the top players that were coming out, whether they were in college or high school or playing in a local town, wanted to be Yankees. So they were able to take advantage of that. Free agency comes. Who has the most money? The Yankees do. They're willing to spend. They're able to spend. And now you have a situation here where a player has a no-trade clause, but he's going to waive it to be a Yankee. And one other thing I do want to touch on, Shohei Ohtani signing with the Angels. Yankee fans and fans of other baseball teams are ticked off, whether it's the Cubs, whether it's the Mariners, whether it's whatever team really felt like they had a chance to bring in a Japanese star pitcher who could also play the field and hit. It was his decision. So if you have a big market, if you are, let's say, New York, or if you are Chicago, and you say, hey, this guy is afraid to play in your town, it sounds like your girlfriend just left you. It sounds like you're bitter because your girlfriend is, is dating somebody else now and doesn't want to be with you. It sounds like bitterness to me. Get over it. And you know what? The same thing applies to Giancarlo Stanton if it is that he ends up going to the Yankees. If you're a Giants fan or if you're a Cardinals fan, don't act that way. You can boo him when he comes into your stadium. That's fine. Your team made a trade or had an agreement on a trade with him, and he didn't want to come there. But don't act bitter over it. You know, the Cardinals and the Giants are going to be two of the most important players in the market of adding a big-time bat this offseason. Whether it's Eric Hosmer or J.D. Martinez or Mike Moustakas. You know, if you're a fan of one of those two teams, you're getting at least a player like that. So the top free agents, I think, have the best chance of going to the Giants or the Cardinals because of this. So, obviously, you wanted to get Stanton if you're a fan of either team. That's fine. The fact that you're not going to get him doesn't mean that you're not going to get a top impact player. And maybe, for the amount of money that it costs, allow yourself to address different needs in the rest of your team. Now, Mike, I'm curious, and I will find out, and I'm sure a lot of you know if details have been leaked already. What is the entire package that's going to make this deal happen? How much salary are the Marlins going to be willing to take? Because these are things that aren't necessarily going to change the point of view that I just expressed, but they will upset me for different reasons. If the Cardinals and Giants are paying between $250 and $295 million of Stanton's contract, and the Yankees only end up paying $50 million or $100 million, then that isn't fair. And the Marlins decided to concede to the New York Yankees, and there could be some sweethearting going along with Derek Jeter being the owner. He takes over as the owner. Obviously, it wasn't the first choice. He may not even be involved in the details of these trades, but I'm sure he has the approval. He has the final say. Michael Hill might be the one that's actually putting these deals together, which I believe he is. But if you remember, and if you're old enough to remember, or if you're not, go back in history and remember the time from 1955 to 1968 where the Kansas City Athletics were owned by Arnold Johnson. And Arnold Johnson had ties to the Yankees, was involved with the Yankees, and obviously had a conflict of interest between him being the owner of the Kansas City Athletics and his ties to the New York Yankees. For whatever reason, Major League Baseball allowed this to go on. And for the period of at least 10 years, maybe as many as 13 years, until his death and eventually the change or transfer in ownership to Charles O. Finley, he basically used his ball club as a farm team for the New York Yankees. In some cases, had players that were traded from the Yankees to the Athletics, allowed them to get seasoned enough with some experience, and traded them back to the Yankees when they were good. Now, I think we live in a time where all the information is there and it's put in our face exactly what's going on. I don't know how that one got swept under the rug. I don't know how that one, just was allowed to go on for so long. Were there really people that were completely blind to the fact that the Kansas City Athletics were a farm club of the New York Yankees, a major league team helping out another major league team? And it wasn't like the Yankees weren't winning championships because of it. But if you look at this situation here, and I hope it doesn't come to it, I've said all along that I'm the biggest advocate of what you call a fair trade. If you want a top player, give up what it would cost, whether it's in players or in money or in some cases both, and put a deal together. And I hope, for the fairness of baseball, that the Miami Marlins are compensated enough for the best player on their team, and arguably one of the top 5 or top 10 players in all Major League Baseball. The National League MVP last year. He hit 59 home runs. And I believe in a fair trade. So I think at some point, you hope that a deal that helps the Miami Marlins, gives them younger players, gives them salary relief, and if they're going to take on a contract here and there, that's fine. That's part of baseball. That's what an agreement is. That's what a trade is about. But I hope it's a fair trade. I hope this isn't another Starlin Castro situation where the Cubs give the Yankees Starlin Castro for nothing. Be back with you maybe later on today. We're over in Largo, Florida right now. We'll be spending time at Orlando at the baseball winter meetings up through Wednesday or Thursday of this week. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.